Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. It's my pleasure and honor to have Shantanu Guha, noted writer, commentator and author. Shantanu da, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskaram, sir. I'm happy to be here.
Shantanu, you have been an avid student of India's markets. You've written a lot of work. Your work is primarily, you're a journalist, of course. You've written a lot of books. The one that impressed me the most is the one called Target, where you talked about the travails of one person and how some vested interests were really messing up with his complete portfolio of companies. Those of you who have not read Target, it's a must read because of how the failure of the market regulator, the Securities Exchange Board of India, is completely brought out. And what is really disheartening is now we are 6 years into the NDA rule under Modi ji, where he promised minimum government, maximum governance, whereas we continue to see that the market regulator is really a huge disappointment. And I can't tell you in words what are all the things I've seen. PGurus is one of those who have been intrepid in pointing out all the mistakes, commissions and omissions and so on. But now the market regulator appears to be completely flawed. Some of the recent decisions that are being handed down are very questionable. Shantanu, what is your experience? Why do you think this market regulator is acting in such a bizarre manner?
I personally believe there was many moons ago, there was a great movie called The Good, Bad and Ugly. Clint Eastwood. So now, I wonder where I can put SEBI. I mean, it can't be good. Is it ugly? Is it bad? The problem is, who is the creator and who is the disruptor? India must get to know this. Let's pick up the recent example when SEBI says the 63 Moons STP services should be banned because it doesn't meet certain norms. And what exactly are those norms? The norms are that the company is the company is actually headed by Jignesh Shah. And though he's just a chairman emeritus, SEBI believe that he is a guy who has a tainted reputation. Now here starts the story. How do you handle with people who you know are genius, and how do you handle them? Do you bring them on board and tell them, okay, give us some more plans and we can do it? We are talking of Jignesh Shah, who's been a creator of 10 great worldwide wonderful exchanges. And I'm raising this issue here because only day before yesterday I heard Dr. Gagandeep Kang, who is a doctor and working very closely with the Indian vaccine system, who is also only Indian to be on the Royal College of London. She was called up by Montek Singh Ahluwalia and Captain Amrinder Singh, and they told her that you are a Sardarni, you must guide us as to how we handle COVID. And today I'm wondering that when you know there are people who can do great work, do you shaft them or do you take them on board in saying, guide us? How can I shape the markets? The STP story of 63 Moons has been criticized across the board, including ET's editorial, where ET categorically says that these kind of decisions will raise questions about the impartial way SEBI functions. Now, I don't know why they keep bringing back the NSCL crisis, payment crisis. They say he has a tainted figure, but remember, the ED or the CBI or even the EOW of Mumbai police, which put Jignesh Shah into jail a couple of times, they've all come back to say they found no money trail to this person. I would like to say here that the ED documentation runs into 23,000 pages submitted in my court, Bombay High Court. And yet you say that this man has a tainted reputation. So how does SEBI define what is tainted? So that's where my problem lies. So, I mean, you just can't brush it off by saying this guy is tainted. No, I was just going through some of my old notes and I just picked up. I mean, there are many things we don't know in India today. Do we know what has happened in the ICICI scandal? Number one. We don't even know what has happened in ILFS. We are wondering what has happened to our banks. And we are also wondering what is happening to DHFL and Franklin Templeton and all of that, which comes under SEBI's domain, including the NSE co-location scam. So where are we? What is SEBI saying? Who is tainted in the market? So say it clearly that no, this guy is not that much tainted, but the rest are tainted. You're keeping quiet about the rest. You are lampooning one guy, obviously at the behest of people who don't want Jignesh Shah to rise from the ashes like a phoenix and start his business again. So that's the problem.
Sir, I'm trying to figure out what is really rotten at SEBI. First of all, we have a chairman who's been given another extension, and if you look at the record for the reason for the extension, it just completely defeats me. I have been for the longest time proposing that you need to bring somebody who is technically savvy. You need to understand what is high frequency trading. You need to understand what the underlying technology is. The way NSE brazenly rolled out their colocation scam, for God's sake, they did not use a simple thing called as a load balancer to make sure everybody logging in had an equal chance at looking at the matching engine. Go ahead, sir.
I want to raise this. I'm the only guy who has filed a petition against NSC. We are fighting it in the courts. The CBI is supposed to investigate it. What is CBI telling me? There are 26 or 36 questions for you. Hey, get the answers, please. I'm just a lone journalist. Whatever I have gathered, I've given them. Is it not the job of the country's premier investigating agency to do this? But the point is, the backroom mechanizations, or who still walks in the corridors of power, people don't really know. There was a time when there were loads and loads of fixers in Delhi. I mean, they could fix up anything and everything for you. You know, that era is gone, Sri. The fixers have all died. Today you want to do business, you go online. If they reject you, you can complain online. I mean, you don't need any of them. So there is the death of the fixers and the rise of the nixers. People are there to tweak certain things to delay your work. In this case, so now again 63 moons will have to go back to the courts, fight the case, and do all kinds of stuff, whereas other exchanges will happily sit and take away their market share. In terms of money, it's not very big for 63 moons. It's just about 4.5 crores. But it's a question of prestige. A company whose technology dominates 97% of the market cannot be run by a fraud, cannot be run by people with dubious distinctions. So you are deliberately trying to tell me that we are trying to shaft Jignesh Shah every time he tries to grow. That's it.
You know, one of the things that SEBI should understand. I mean, I hope they read the newspapers. I hope they read that a bench of Supreme Court said that you cannot combine two companies, one loss making and a profit making company. You have to separate them. This thing about raising the corporate wealth is just not done. And then they have handed down the verdict close to 18, 20 months ago, and yet the government happily defaults on that. I mean, ignores that order, and have still not released the finances of the FTIL group. Just saying that NSCL has to be resolved. This is just not on. You are in contempt of court. Now Jignesh Shah has to go back to the court and saying, look, this entity is in contempt of court. You need to ask them to remove this. What is going on? This is, I mean, I see monumental failure on part of the government and the government bodies in trying to, just somehow keep this man shackled. It is just not done, guys. I don't understand what the finance ministry is doing. These are all, there are technologically, the trading has grown by leaps and bounds. If you don't understand the technology, for God's sake, put a high power committee or technical people who can understand what needs to be done at SEBI. The current board members, full-time members, I have completely lost faith in their ability to understand the problem. You don't know what the problem is. What are you going to solve?
I like to raise a point here. Take a look at the SEBI order. What does it say? The FMC said this in 2014. FMC was run by Ramesh Abhishek, very close to P. Chidambaram. I mean, I've written in the book. Ramesh Abhishek very strongly recommend to the government the merger of FTIL and NSCL. The Supreme Court threw it out of the window. Shouldn't SEBI be taking that as a cue, saying that whatever this man was doing is blatantly, brazenly wrong? Because the Supreme Court stands with Mr. Shah. He has not run away to London, for heaven's sake. He is not sitting in some strange Malibu country. He is not in the Caribbean. He is very much in the Mumbai, very much in Amchi, Mumbai. He is there. So ask him, question him again, and tell him, sir, this is the issue. How do you want to resolve it? But do not take his business away. There was a time when the Naxalite movement was at its peak, and the Naxalites would always say the annihilation of the upper class. Power flows from the barrel of a gun. Where did it land? Where did it go eventually? It went down the drain. If you do not understand the market, don't kill it with the barrel of your gun. You have to understand the situation. We are talking of all kinds of scandals around us. 15,000 crore, 20,000 crore, 30,000 crore, 50,000 crores. The NSC payment crisis of 5,600 crores, half of it has already been resolved, maybe more of that. So shouldn't you look at that, rather say, depending on a 2014 report given by FMC and trying to shaft Jignesh Shah again? You don't want him to do business. You are sending certain signals. He'll again have to go to the court and fight and seek justice, which he has been done. So all I'm saying is this is very sad, this is unfortunate, but I think it's good that Mr. Shah has faith in the courts, which he has said last year. He gave a detailed interview to PTI that got carried in all kinds of newspapers. He made it very clear that I'm not running away, I'm here. So whatever lampooning you may do on social media, I will go to the courts and stand there and say, okay, this is my defense. And court after court after court has cleared him, and SEBI still thinks that 2014 report or that order of FMC stands valid. How sad it could be, Sri. How bad, how unfortunate it could be. But then this is India. It's like the Agni Pariksha. You will have to come out of fire and then turn pure gold. Maybe the Agni Pariksha is not yet over for Jignesh Shah.
No, I think this is all, a contrived thing because we have been hearing for the longest time, I think about 2 and 2.5 years, that
Yeah.
the NSE would like to go public and that NSE has some Benami investors who want to cash out. And these are the people who are trying to somehow keep the lid on Jignesh Shah. And I know when you immediately see who's trying to control it, you will know what the person is. And this crook, I can tell you, this crook is somehow still able to manage the livers of the government. Lots of babus who pay obeisance. Go ahead.
Lots of babus. Lots of babus, the bureaucrats, who swear their allegiance to him. And there lies the problem. So they believe that the bureaucrats can push wheel within wheels, within wheels, within wheels, and then they can go ahead. But it doesn't work like that. Wherever there is flaw, I always believe, Sri, there is law. So I have faith in the judiciary. Let's see, let another new battle start. Let lawyers get rich. Let Mr. Shah spend some more money in the courts and let a new battle start, and let's see where it takes him. But this is wrong. I mean, whatever he has created is comparable to Amazon, comparable to Google. So you are killing the golden goose. Nurture him, pick him up, tell him, give us ideas, sir. How do we do it? The way the Punjab government is calling Dr. Gagandeep Kamang is saying, Madam, you are a Sardarni, a woman from this state. Help us. How do we handle COVID? Indian states should take a lesson from that and try and pick up their geniuses and tell them to drive it. Things would have been much better. Sri.
So what are we really asking? First of all, do you really understand what you're up against, SEBI? Do you have the technical news to try and figure out what all these companies are doing? You are supposed to be for the shareholders, for the common shareholders. These days, with all the systematic investment plans, a lot of people have their money in the stock market. All they see is look at the top line and say, oh, the stock market is doing well, therefore my investments are doing well. But are they? What is the financial health of a lot of the companies? They are in terrible shape. The only reason this is happening is because somebody is actually bumping up the shares. Your India stock market is a very shallow market. It revolves around the 50 stocks that is defined as Nifty 50. The people who designed that, I have no comments to say about this at this time in this particular hangout, but the less said the better. The thing about all this is it's a whole sham. India's markets are completely captured and they can break it up at will, they will bring it down at will. Anytime this can be brought down because there is no depth here, there is no substance on which the market can keep on going up. I've been saying this for 2-3 years now. For some reason it has been going up, but I really feel bad for those guys who will suddenly see that their lifelong earnings and savings are all gone in dust. But anyway, my point here, sir, is let us just define 3 things for the SEBI to do. If SEBI can't do it, they should first start looking for a more qualified chairman. That is my point. So just suggest 3 things that SEBI needs to do. Hopefully with that, it can be the place where the stock markets can give proper capital for those companies who are in need of it. For God's sake, startups cannot get any money from any stock exchange now.
I don't think the SEBI chairman will change or the government will let that go. SEBI chairman will always be a bureaucrat or someone like that. The markets won't supply the market leader. No, it will not happen. This is India. It's like the Indian cricket team and the captaincy. It's already pre-decided. Number 1. Number 2, I think the SEBI really needs to drive people to invest more in stocks because Indians are only investing in gold because that is the only safe element they find. And third, there should be a company or there should be a board of SEBI which should be above everything, a board above the board. which should take a call at these kind of crises. But somebody is saying, oh, this guy is bad. Somebody is saying this guy is good. No, you can't do that. You'll have to take a call saying, sorry, we have examined it. You are wrong. He will do business. You need to be bold. But then, unfortunately, SEBI is not bold. They prepare huge reports. The way they handle the NSE co-location scam was itself a sham. But then, it's like belling the cat. These days, cats can be easily belled. They're lovable pets. But SEBI is a Cheshire cat. You can't bell it. So they'll continue to take advice from the government, the bureaucrats particularly. I don't think the finance minister and all get involved here. And they keep running it. So, my only advice to companies would be, if you believe that you have been wronged, you should go to the courts and fight it out. Otherwise, this thing's not going to change. Me and you can have another 10 hangouts. I don't think they will change. So best is, if there is a flaw, go to the law and fight it, which is sad. Because every time you go to the courts, it takes you back. Because you are picking up old stuff, bringing it in, sitting with the lawyers, your mind, a slice of your mind goes there. But that should not have happened. Jignesh Shah should have been called by various bodies to say, give us some ideas, sir. What can we do to perk up the market? How do you push the commodities market? What do we do with gold? What do we do with petroleum? It doesn't happen. We ourselves don't know how to use our geniuses. For us, and Amartya Sen, who messed up the entire Nalanda University, is still a legend. I'm saying this despite being a Bengali myself. We go by names. So as I was saying, in India now there's a new buzzword in Delhi. Small is beautiful, small is bold. Small guys are standing up and saying, I think you're wrong. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. So the days of fixers are all gone, sir. I do see a ray of hope. And now I personally believe Mr. Shah will have a great victory in the courts, I believe. And then we'll be back in business of this STP. And SEBI will have to reconcile to the fact that it made a very, very wrong decision by picking up a 2014 report pushed by a man who was almost singularly responsible with a few other bureaucrats to try and bring down Jignesh Shah.
Thank you very much, Shantanu Da, and viewers will be back with more such interesting stories. This is really, really hurting the Indian economy because there are lots of people, deserving companies who would like to raise capital in the stock markets, and for them and for everybody else, the stock market has to be the right place. It has to have the proper transparency. I've been saying this ad infinitum. Unfortunately, when the regulator chooses to look only one way and not for everybody, that becomes a huge problem. This SEBI is not being looked at. I hope there's a parliamentary committee formed to look at the functioning of SEBI. God damn it, this is not going to just go on continuing like this. Mistake after mistake. They levy 1,000 crore fine for the NSE co-location, but they say that there was no fraud. And these guys just go to the appellate tribunal and get it overturned. Not a single paisa has been given by any of the perpetrators of the scam. This is what SEBI is for you. All SEBI said was, we have levied 1,000 crore fine on NSE, but what? One paisa hasn't been paid by NSE. Because you had a flawed ruling. And this was already brought to your attention. I mean, how many times do you have to be told? If you are an IAS officer, for God's sake, you are the cream of the crop. What is wrong with you guys? Thank you very much, sir.
I just want to just quickly say this. Read this book. It details everything of the NSE.
Can you bring it in front of your face, sir? I can't see it completely. There you go. Yes. Market Mafia. And raise it a little bit, please. Raise it a little bit, please. Oh, great. Excellent. Excellent. The Market Mafia by Palak Shah.
Palak Shah.
Thank you.
This guy is a journalist. He works for Hindu Business Line. Brilliant book. Now, what do you do? You can only write, raise this, go to court, this, that. You are in isolation, three, four of us. So, as I often say, let's wait. Let's go to the courts and let the company fight it out. And I'm confident he will win.
Thank you very much, sir, and we'll see you again very soon. Namaskar.
Thank you. Namaskar. Namaskar. Namaskar.